This is the life story of my dad, Roy John Otis. My dad was born and raised in a log cabin in Graybull, Wyoming. You've heard this kind of story before, but in his case it's the truth. He and his siblings were all born at home. There were 14 children in the family, and they didn't have much money. Grandpa Otis worked for the railroad, and he was rarely at home. This looks like the Depression era from the clothing. One winter his parents left the boys in another town to fend for themselves. They gathered potatoes off of the railroad tracks to keep from starving. The boys often had wild escapades, including borrowing the family car to drive to town. They pushed it far enough away from the house that the sound of the motor starting up couldn't be heard. Grandpa Otis used the boys as his work crew on the family farm. My grandfather was not a nice man, and many of the siblings left home early or joined the military. Dad left the home and lived with his older brother Ward before joining the Army. Roy joined the Army during World War II. He was in his late 20s at the time. Assigned in the Pacific Theater, Roy earned the rank of sergeant in a cavalry unit based in Australia. Technically, he was listed as a veterinary assistant, but saw action that he never spoke about. One thing he did tell us about was breaking his leg while trying to ride 2 horses at once, 1 foot on the back of each horse. When Roy returned home after the war ended, he again lived with his brother and his wife in Yakima, Washington. He met my mom, Catherine, there. They moved to Oregon soon after they married, and Roy began working at the Union Pacific Railroad. Grandfather Otis died before I was born. He had a huge goiter that he refused to seek medical treatment for. All of the siblings were there for the funeral. Mom and Dad had 8 children, all girls. Roy is the 7th son, and I am his 7th daughter. Roy was an accomplished gardener and could make nearly anything grow. He had a half-acre vegetable garden that helped feed the family, but his real love was his flowers. Dad retired from the Union Pacific Railroad in 1981. After that, he often took flowers around town to friends of his. Dad loved playing Santa Claus every year. Mom and Dad were married 60 years. After a long fight with congestive heart failure, emphysema, and other complications, Roy passed away in 2008. He was 89. I spent many hours in the hospital with him. What he wanted most was to go home and work in his flowers again.